Hi, this is Alan Namtheanga from the Irish Dread Sovereign and Primordial, and you are listening to The Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio International, and I like to congratulate Metal Messiah with its 13th anniversary.
Alan, it's a great pleasure to have you here. I want to welcome you to the Metal Bloodshed with the Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio International.
Okay.
Alan, you are a very talented musician, lyricist, producer, sound engineer, artist, and photographer. You was part and are still part of different bands. You joined Primordial at a very young age. I even believe when they were still known as Forsaken. How did you start it in the music business, and especially metal? And if you don't mind to brief us a little bit on the Irish metal scene, how are things going?
Well, they're fucked because we're in lockdown, so everything is fucked. No one knows what survives after this, to be brutally honest with you. I don't know how alternative culture or counterculture survives this nonsense we're living through, but we shall see. I joined the band in 1991. You know, there was a few names back then. We didn't pick the name Primordial until maybe September 1991. Yeah, we were young. We were all mostly 15, 16, 17 years old. And that just happens to be 30 years ago this year. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I started getting into metal and rock maybe when I was 8, 9, so 1983, 84, and it's been there ever since. I don't really know that much about new Irish metal bands like I maybe used to 5 or 10 years ago. Yeah.
Alan, I mean, leaving the COVID behind, how do you see the metal scene is growing, is evolving in Ireland?
You can't leave it behind because it will change everything. It's not possible to have the conversation about it without understanding that COVID will close venues, close bars, stop bands from playing. So without that, it's impossible to have that conversation, unfortunately. So every conversation has to be pivoted around how COVID and lockdown affect travel, live music, playing gigs, counterculture, etc. If they even allow bars that will stay open late and have music, etc. Unfortunately, it's not possible to hypothesize some alternate reality where we don't have to deal with this, sadly. I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, there are gigs planned. People have planned to do things. It remains to be seen what happens. Most gigs that are booked for this year for every band, not just mine, will most likely won't happen, and it will be rebooked for 2022, and then we just have to see if that is possible. I don't know. I'm not as active as in the Irish scene as I was in the 90s or the 2000s. I don't know every small band anymore. There isn't as many local shows as there used to be, partially because there's less venues for people to play, and there's just generally less fans of new and smaller things, so to say. Less young people involved. Mostly they will go out to see an old band. Overkill will get 800 people, but a young thrash band might only get 30 or 40 or 50 people. So that's kind of where it is.
Okay. Alan, over 25 years, you as the frontman of this great Irish Celtic folk black metal band, I'm talking about Primordial, with 9 full-length albums. I must say, a massive career with the band, and with their last album released back in 2018 under the name Exile Amonst The Ruins. So what will be done in celebration of this 3 decades of the band, Alan? And are you guys working on a new album for Primordial?
Again, because of lockdown, we've been unable to meet, unable to rehearse. There are no plans really for any celebrations. As we cannot play live, we can't really do much. Right now, we can just about maybe meet, but it's been very complicated. People live quite far away. There's been lockdown between counties in Ireland. So those who live further away with jobs and responsibilities and that kind of thing, it's just been kind of difficult to get together. It should happen in the next month or two. But as for celebrations, no celebrations. I'm afraid, again, the situation that we're in, we won't do a live streaming show to no one. We refuse to change anything about the band to compromise in any way towards the situation. There won't be any streaming shows to no one. There won't be any special Zoom chats, nothing. Until we can, I'll put it to you this way. Unless things go back to normal, realistically, there is no heavy metal, how shall we say? Unless bands can tour again. If Dread Sovereign can't tour, there's no Dread Sovereign. If Primordial can't tour and play festivals, there won't be any Primordial. Maybe one more album, we'll see. But certainly, unless the world returns to a place where artists and creative people are given the rights that they used to have to be able to pursue those musical goals, sorry to sound negative, then there is no point in making heavy metal.
Okay, Alan, since the pandemic, talking about this, begun, you have started a podcast entitled Agitators Anonymous.
Yeah.
What are your motivations, and are you planning to continue with this after everything gets back to normal?
Well, firstly, we don't know that things will go back to normal. So you have to consider that. I think it's a pivotal moment in human history we're living through, and that I don't know if we just return to the way things were. We might do. I'm not sure. Agitators Anonymous, I started 2 weeks into this because I realized it was going to go on for a very long time. Within a week, first episode, I talk about pretty much everything that happened over so far, and I've been pretty much correct on how long things were going to take, the lies that we were told, amongst many other things. I started it kind of a little bit as I'm sitting around doing nothing is just not my default setting. I don't need time off. I don't want to take a rest. I don't want to take a year out. I'm relentless, and I have to constantly move and constantly do new things. So Agitators Anonymous is my way of dealing with that, dealing with my own mental stress, not being able to do anything, getting some words out to people, having discussions, having debates, putting another side of the argument, being able to maybe change a few opinions about things, to be able to point out to people certain things that were happening. And also it's kind of my weekly therapy. And it also provides a little bit of dark humor, a little bit of some heavy metal chat, some old stories, but also some stuff about politics and culture and history that I felt needed to be said in my own small way. And so it grows, and more people listen, and it's fulfilling, but of course doesn't take the place of being able to be creative and make music. So yeah, I'll keep doing it. I'll keep continuing it. It's one of the few positive things that have come out of this nonsense we've been living through for, especially this year,
Yeah, I must say, I heard one of them, I think, one of the episodes.
You've got 60 to catch up on.
Yeah. You are at number 61 now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, man, I don't want to sound like totally negative dude, and I know that most people can't handle that much sort of negative information, but I do think that people have to really understand that within every moment that we live through, there are multiple narratives playing out at once. There are multiple stories, and the story that we've basically been told, well, there's other stories happening, and that's the things that I'm sort of interested, elements of social control and politics, geopolitics surrounding what's been happening. And I think I've been proven pretty correct in my opinions about where culture, society, and this moment has been taking us. So look, I mean, I've always been someone who's had a lot to say, so the podcast suits me.
I hope the world does not go to an end for this year.
No, I don't think it will.
To continue with this interview, Alan, Dread Sovereign was formed in Dublin, in Ireland in 2013 by you, the vocalist of Primordial, to give praise to the filthy cold old doom, black and heavy metal the band features. Yes, you as the frontman and vocals and bassist, Bones on guitars, and JK, Johnny King on drums. Okay. Having released a debut EP in 2013, Pray to the Devil in Man, followed by the debut full-length in 2014, Hell's Martyrs, and in 2017, the band came back with For Doom the Bell Tolls, which feature 5 original tracks, one of which is an intro, and close out with a Venom cover. I remember Live Like an Angel and Die Like a Devil. Alan, looking back almost 4 years ago, what can you tell us about this album, For Doom the Bell Tolls, and why have you chosen to add this Venom cover to the album?
It's no huge secret. We were just playing it live and we just thought, fuck it, let's record it. For Doom the Bell Tolls, we made it in maybe 2 or 3 days, recorded and mixed. Like all Dread Sovereign stuff, it's all live, all in the studio, no trading files, no click tracks, no cutting and pasting, no editing, just 3 people playing in a room together, making noise. And that's just what Dread Sovereign is. Dread Sovereign is more old school, more Venom, Hellhammer, St. Vitus kind of style. And that's kind of it. It was designed to be the band that rehearsed every week in the fucking filthy room together, jamming, rehearsing. You know, that's just the way things are.
Okay, once again, feature the artwork of Constantine Churnianos. Dread Sovereign certainly knows how to make an impression. The artwork and album are simply beautiful to look at. Building on the themes for 2014, A Hell's Martyr. The cover reveals a man being led to his execution, this time by hanging rather than flaying. Was Constantine also responsible for doing cover artwork for the 2 first albums? First question. And have you worked with him before, Alan, for Primordial?
Yes, and yes. He did them, and yes, I did with Primordial.
Okay. So you guys have been working together for a while already.
Yeah. He's a great guy. We've been working with him for, I suppose, a decade on lots of different things, you know. So
he knows precise what your needs are, what your demands are.
Yeah. Gustin has a great vision. He's a very creative guy. It took a while, but through all the Dread Sovereign artwork, there's 3 characters who are the 3 of us, and we're kind of doing a little bit of time traveling, I suppose. On the new album, we're in Isaac Newton's laboratory, trying to discover the secret of alchemy, and that's just sort of, I position us in different places throughout history, and I tell the rough story through the lyrics, you know.
Okay, since November 2020, the band has released different videos for different tracks, like, I'm talking about the new album now, Nature is the Devil's Church.
Sure.
The Great Beast We Serve, She-Wolf of the Savage Season, and most recently for the track Her Master's Voice. Alan, what can you tell us about these songs? Yeah, all these different tracks that you have premiered as promotional singles.
Well, I think realistically, the video format is really all you can do right now, because don't forget, Dread Sovereign was made to be played live. We put a lot of effort into making the record, making it sound really like a live band playing in a room, and then you can't tour. You can't play live, you can't travel, you can't move. All you end up doing is just watching numbers on a screen. So I put the album release off for a whole year because I didn't want to release it in the first year of the pandemic. And well, here we are, obviously rolling on into, well, it will cover most of the summer and autumn, and I imagine into next year. But the label said you can't sit on this record for 2 years. Personally, I would never release an album during this moment. Never. If Primordial had a record ready, we would sit on it for a year. There's no point, because all it does is remove the artist to the position of just watching numbers, and that's not why I started playing music, so I refuse to do it. However, the videos are about all we could do to really try and reach people, to give them some element of, communion with the band on some level, you know? So, look, this is the way things are now, is that you have to try and hustle up 3 videos for more or less no money to try and promote a record at a time when the main reason for you making it has been taken away from you, unjustifiably so. So what can we do? They're just videos. There's no huge amazing secret to them. One of them I even made. I just put an old movie of Frankenstein to her master's voice. So
okay, I haven't toured Europe and play at a plethora of festivals and to gain a reputation for your live performances. I must say, Dread Sovereign continue focusing on a subject matter of the darker side of history on this great new album, Alchemical Warfare, released last January 15, 2021 via Metal Blade Record. This time after had to release an EP via Roadburn Record. Yes, the two full-length album you guys have released through Van Records. My question is, you are working on with Metal Blade Records for so long. I mean, I'm talking about Primordial. Why didn't you went over with them when you started Dread Sovereign at the very first release in the very first album?
Because maybe you just wanted to try something different. There's no huge reason. It's you just want to, I suppose, hitch your wagon to a different train and see what it's like. And also Dread Sovereign at the time in the first album was more of this kind of swampy, occult sort of stuff that didn't really fit on Metal Blade, I thought. So there's no huge secret. I mean, it's great working with Metal Blade, cool people. And it's cool with, with Dread Sovereign now. I thought it needed a bit different journey around it. Sometimes you just have to try a few different things.
Are you happy now, having both bands working with the label?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, the role of a record label compared to 10 or 20 years ago has changed a lot. I mean, would Primordial sell more or less records on some other label? I don't know. I don't really care anymore, to be honest. The records come out. The important thing is the structure that's placed around it, getting it out there, available to people, I suppose all the streaming stuff. But for us, it's touring, playing live, it's all that kind of thing. So Metal Blade are great people. They have a really good structure. It's fine. At 30 years into your career, are you really going to take a huge, big step upwards? It's not likely. So with Dread Sovereign, it was a step up. But of course, like I said, that step up needs to be matched with all of the other things. So it is what it is.
Yeah, with your permission, I'd like to say hi to Nikki of Metal Blade Record. And I want to thank Nikki. I want to thank you, Alan, for this great interview.
No problem, man. It's like I said, it's strange times. I mean, you just release something and you just talk on Zoom and then you kind of wonder what to do. I know America is opening back up. Maybe where you are is opening back up a bit as well. I mean, things are slowly changing here, but they still don't seem to have any respect or consideration for music or live music. In fact, they're not allowing you to play music even in a bar in Ireland because they don't want people gathering, dancing. It's like the fucking Taliban, man, you know?
Yeah, understood. But Alan, talking about figures, like you were saying, I mean, early this year, you guys have released this great new album. If I can see so far, you have received great comments by magazines like Def Raver, Hard Rock Germany, Legacy Magazine, Metal Hammer, just to mention a couple of them. Are you happy, satisfied to all these great comments received from critics, and especially coming out of these very important metal magazines?
Sure, it's great. I'm not happy, but it's great. Look, man, it is what it is. But like I said, without touring and playing live, it doesn't really fucking matter, to be honest. It's cool to get good reviews. It's great, but they have to hit. The album has to hit, get good reviews, and then boom, a month later, you've got to be on tour playing everywhere. You've got to be playing festivals. Again, that whole process is disrupted. So, okay, a good review is a good review, but it doesn't really mean anything to me because all it means is I'm just still sitting here chatting to you on a screen. There has to be human agency, process, movement, all of those things connected to it. Without that, like I said, if those things don't come back, there is no more Dread Sovereign. There's no more records. So that will be it. Unless things return to us being able to do playing live. So, because there's no point making heavy metal like that to just be, a square on a screen. Sorry to be a bit depressing or a bit gloomy, but people need to kind of comprehend where the situation is. And I've been saying this for a year and a half and people have been trying to ignore it and not pay attention to it. But unless international travel returns, unless all of this nonsense around the situation that we're in, it basically changes and public opinion changes, there's little space in this new world for traveling creative musicians because what they really want is people to just stay inside and stream things. So I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it's cool to get good reviews, but okay. Unless I can get on a plane, I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, that's right. I understand you completely because I go to festivals every year, and now sitting here, yeah, it's great talking to all of you. But sitting here for 2 years, I'm already bored. I mean, I feel like part of me is dead.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, look, I mean, that's how can we say, the anti-human process of the situation we're in has won out. People have been sold a diet of fear for the last 18 months. And now, the agencies of power, state, big pharma and tech have managed to create a world where, people are now afraid of each other and they can implement all sorts of new rules of social control. And, they've created a health tax on the world arbitrarily. And so in that new world, in that new space, there is no room for rock and roll unless people are just grow tired of it and they just push back and public opinion changes and people go, no, we have to be allowed outside to be human with each other. Unfortunately, for the people like yourself or myself who want to do that, there remains a great percentage of people who seem more than happy to live under this new form of soft authoritarianism. Unfortunately, there are people who seem to enjoy having no choices, having no humanity. So, look, my opinions about all this are very, very clear. I've been clear from day one about how I view these things. So I've been pretty outspoken, but I've been proved right as to where we are 18 months later. All we can do is just hope that, unfortunately for us, we need morons on our side. We need scared people on our side to change the tone of the argument. Now, thankfully, Americans have decided that they understand freedom more than Europeans, but we remain in a difficult place where we don't know quite what the future is. We can only hope that things settle back into some form of normality and people understand that liberty and freedom are more important than fear. But, it's complicated.
I can't wait. Believe me, I can't wait to be back on the field, to be back at the festivals and to meet with you guys, to see you guys playing live, what you should be doing.
Yeah, of course. But until now, well, what can we do? I mean, look, hey, I'm a fucking serious dude when it comes to these kind of things, and I have lots of serious points of view to it. But I'm not without my positive moments and my optimism. So, we just got to see and hope that things level out and that some form of what we understand, basically, that gives life to the scene. Because let's be honest, without playing live and touring and traveling and having the communion of the live show, I mean, what is music? What is heavy metal? What is rock and roll? What is our scene? It's really nothing. There is no point to most of it because otherwise it just removes us to the position of, just like online avatars. Anyway,
to end this little part, how many great album has been released end of 2019, 2020, not to talk 2021, and this album just gonna be wasted.
Yeah, that's why I would never release a Primordial album. Dread Sovereign, I didn't really have a choice because we finished it in the end of 2019, so we waited 15 months, and I mean, to be honest, I would have waited till this September, but the label were like, no, you can't wait any longer. So, and people say to me, oh, well, it's about time you start another one. No way. I won't waste months of my life writing more songs and rehearsing on another record without knowing for sure that I'm allowed to reclaim my inalienable human rights of agency and purpose. And if they don't come back, then that's it.
And come on, who's going to start promoting an album a year or 2 years after its release?
No, I mean, I just personally wouldn't release it at all. I'd just sit on it. It would just sit on the shelf until a time comes when musicians can be musicians again. That's all, really. But, it came out. The reaction was great. We just have to live with it for now.
To go further, Dread Sovereign, new album came with a bit more reckless and up-tempo than the previous early releases, yet the template remains doom. Alchemical Warfare has a bit more of Venom, Motorhead, and Battery thrown into the mix.
Sure.
What can you tell us about this album in general, and how was the recording process affected by this pandemic?
We did it before. We were finished in November 2019, so it didn't affect it at all. We just wanted to play more in this style. We just wanted to play a bit more up-tempo. You know, the musicianship is tighter. I wanted to add more Venom, Tank, Motorhead. Of course, there's still Witchfinder General, Cirith Ungol, Hellhammer, St. Vitus kind of vibes to it. But we wanted to kick it up a tempo. There's no real secret to that, really, to be honest with you. And no, the pandemic didn't affect the recording at all because it had nothing to do with it.
Okay, so for the new fan, how would you present this album to them?
I don't know. Listen to it if you want to hear proper heavy metal played by a band in a room with the old spirit of metal, the reckless, wild, energy of liberty that should encompass all great heavy metal records from, back in the day. We wanted to capture that 1981 feeling, 1982 feeling, not to sound exactly like it from then, but that reckless, wild energy of old heavy metal, committed energy of three people in a room playing together that was not traded files, not cut and paste, not remote recording. So that's what we tried to do, and I think we achieved that.
Okay, I'm going to be talking something that you just said when you started this interview. Yeah, you have already scheduled this October, this pilgrimage to Doomsday, where you're going to hit stage in Germany, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, UK, France, and the Netherlands. But as you were saying, like I said in the beginning, that now you're already confirming that even though this is October, that this show or this tour won't go on. My question is, are you already confirming that still this is not going on? It has been cancelled? If it's so, when will this be taking place?
No, not exactly. I mean, I've said there won't be shows for Primordial this year, for sure. I wasn't. With Dread Sovereign, here's the thing at the moment, is that all the shows from 2020 were just moved to 2021. All the festivals had to move them to the next year. They're already being moved to 2022. So the thing is that every booking agent and promoter has to keep working and keep promoting things in the hope that restrictions and rules change and are moved and that things are allowed to return again. They have to keep working on that premise, or else if things do go back to some kind of normality and they have nothing booked, what the fuck can they do? Because every venue and every weekend is booked in every big city in Europe practically for the next 6 to 9 months, because everyone is just keeps rebooking. So we, like everyone else, had to have a tour in place. Now, if it can happen, it can happen. Dread Sovereign is not Primordial. Dread Sovereign is only 2 people from Ireland who have to fly out, and we can find a way around that somehow. Primordial is not the same thing. Primordial is much more difficult, and Primordial needs things to be lifted completely, shall we say. So it might happen, it might not. Again, none of us know. The whole music industry is just waiting to see, again, if it can be let out. We don't know if they're going to make some other bullshit story about some other variant, or no, you can't change this, no, this. Oh, listen, we were told 3 weeks to flatten the curve, and here we are 17 months later. So, who knows? We don't know. I mean, that tour you're talking about, it might happen, it might not. I can't tell you either way. Right now, we have to work off the concept that with some kind of optimism.
Okay, let's assume this pilgrimage to Doomsday tour don't take place. I guess your first shows will be the Doomsday Fest June 2022 in Brighton, UK, with bands like Arcturus, Impale Nazarene, and many, many more. On this festival, you're going to be playing with both bands. I'm talking about Primordial and Dread Sovereign. What can the fans expect of both bands, this festival?
I don't know. It's a fucking year away. Talking about shows a year away, I don't know. I mean, we don't know. Does that happen? It should happen. I don't know.
Yeah, come on. A year from now, it won't happen. Come on. It will never happen then.
Yeah, maybe. People have to consider that there will be some other lies that we're told over the next year, other restrictions, other occasions. We don't know. I don't know. I've had 2 years of not playing live. I'm not really going to sit around and discuss what to expect from a show in another year. I don't know. I mean, there are other shows before that Doomsday Festival for Dread Sovereign and for Primordial. I don't know. Again, personally, I just sort of don't give a fuck, in a sense that I didn't look at all the dates I have because they just keep getting postponed. I have about 75 shows sitting in the air. Who knows? When the first one happens, then I'll be more inclined. Let's discuss the second one.
Wow, so unbelievable. 75 show hanging.
Yeah, I'm a musician who makes his life is traveling and playing music, and that's with 2 or 3 different bands. Primordial has 40, 45 shows. Dread Sovereign probably has 25, 30. And imagine how many Martyrs or Rotting Christ or Vader and many other musicians out there who are just sitting, waiting in purgatory for things to begin to start again. And so many, many bands have tons and tons of shows just waiting. And like I said, considering that once upon a time we were told 3 weeks to flatten the curve, 18 months later, I don't believe anything. So, I'm a natural born pessimist. I'm not an optimistic person by nature. So, of course, all of this feeds into how I look at the world. So, hey, look, hopefully next year we'll go back to being able to play, being able to regain all those things that we took as being part of our scene and part of our culture, our, not just heavy metal, but just humanity and art in general. Don't forget there's not been any theatre or comedy. Listen, you've not been able to dance with a stranger for a year and a half. The most primal example that goes back thousands and thousands of years has been denied us by what? So again, I don't mean to be that guy, but I'm not a cheerful optimist. I'm not somebody who can ignore the very distinct possibility that, as for the next 6 months, there won't be gigs because some new variant or some new strain or some other thing will happen. Still restrictions on travel. Don't forget what they might do is, even if you are vaccinated, they might make you take a PCR or antigen test just to go inside. And if they do that from country to country to country, like as in you're going to need a new test every time you go from Holland to Germany to Belgium to whatever, you can't tour. It's not possible. It's not financially possible to do a test every day. And if one person has a false positive, the whole tour gets cancelled. That's a very real, very boring reality. But people should know that that's what the potentiality is there for that to happen. I.e. that every venue, because of a new boring insurance conversation, goes, now everyone who comes inside has to have it doesn't matter if you're going to be vaccinated or not, that they're going to need an antigen test every morning.
I had this conversation with some other bands the other day. What you going to do if all the festivals organizer will, not talking about the fans, but at least, even the musician, they will be vaccinated.
I'm not just talking about being vaccinated. You're going to need that. There is no way around that. You're going to need that to travel as far as I can see. I'm talking about on top of vaccination, they're going to demand an antigen or PCR test as well. They're just not going to remove that. So you're going to have an extra cost of 100 and 150 euro per person. Hang on, I know a festival next year in Germany that is talking about antigen testing 20,000 people every morning to be allowed into the festival.
You're kidding.
If this stays in place, we're fucked. Because you cannot go from France to Holland to Germany to Belgium on a tour in a van with 15 people and to have an antigen fucking test, which is, but let me also add, very flawed, every morning, and then show that to every venue that you go to. It's one thing for the local crowd to have to do it, but for a foreign band, and then one person has a false positive and the whole tour is cancelled. That's what you're looking at. And people need to be fucking realistic about this. I'm kind of tired of, no offense, but people, like I said, I'm not a natural born optimist with these things, but that's a very boring reality. And it's very possible that will be the reality, because don't forget, the PCR and antigen testing is a huge money-making scam. It's basically a tax, a health tax on the world that's been forced on us by Big Pharma, that's been backed by state and tech. And they've lost a lot of money over the last 2 years, stuff from airline industries. They're going to have their own antigen tests in the airport at a cost of 50 to 100 euro each time because they're clawing back money. You think that they're just going to drop the structure of testing on top of vaccination? Not a chance. I think it's pretty much nailed on that shit is going to stay. They're going to demand a test from you every morning. You're going to have to scan that in and send it into the promoter and go before you are able to enter the venue. Mark my words.
I respect what you're talking about. They might come up with that, yeah.
It exists already for us to travel. It's already in place.
That's nonsense.
Of course it's nonsense. The whole thing is nonsense.
Because things I can prove. I have the 2 injections.
I know. You have to stop trying to make sense of this situation. There is no sense making. It's not about making sense. It's about financial profit and social control. So that's the way it is. Every day in the UK, 1,300 to 1,500 people die. And for some days last week, not a single person died related to COVID. So do they care about the other 13, 14, 1,500 people? No. It's such a complicated fabric and tissue of misinformation, if you ask me, that is now going to be used for elements of social control and, I think, huge finance. And let's be honest, state, tech, big pharma, they don't give a shit if bands are able to tour or not. They don't give a shit about that at all. In fact, they'll say, hey, just stream it. I can see already the Irish Arts Council is preparing to build streaming stages in every town across Ireland that's talking about this. They anticipate musicians not leaving the country. So So sorry to be that guy, but that's kind of maybe how it will be.
Do you believe the authorities has handled this on a proper way?
No, of course not. It's been a complete and utter disaster. I think that democracy has been suspended, civil liberties and human rights have been paused, and have little or no consideration in terms of the sort of techno-populist, authoritarian way these things have been handled. In Ireland, every small business has been pushed to the limit, and the city is derelict, most of it, and it won't be coming back, most of it, because why would you open a business in this terms? There's no discussion of levels, cases, debts anymore, nothing like that. They don't seem to matter much, really. And look, I mean, anyone who doesn't understand that the nature of power begats more power, people go, why would they do that? What, you think that agents of power, influence, state, tech, government don't want more power over the people? In Ireland, they've introduced dozens of new laws, no opposition. In the UK, they moved to ban the right to protest. Why would you do that unless you think you're going to do more things to people that they're going to protest against? Across the West, you can see the systematic altering of the narrative, which is authoritarian, which has taken away people's civil liberties, inalienable human rights, told them literally, I mean, they've locked the healthy in their homes. That has no precedence throughout human history. Quarantine means 40 days, and that was designed in that you quarantined the sick, or in this case, what should have been the risk category. But politicians are as stupid as everyone else, and they're driven by many other things. So there have been people who've tried to do good things, but here we are 18 months later and they won't let go of the reins, despite there being literally no evidence to the contrary. There are no people dying from this in Ireland, but yet we aren't allowed to even socialize together. So like I said, the naivety that exists in most people to not understand that democracy is not the default setting of society. If you look back throughout history, most countries have not had democracy. They've had fascism, communism, dictatorship, tyranny. And the idea that this can't happen here is just so naive, because history dictates the opposite. And anyone who's come from a country that suffered those things knows very well what it looks like. And this is what it looks like, you know, a soft form of police state. And that is what
Alan,
people are living under. So
are you trying to tell me that things are much easier for those that are communist?
No, I didn't say that at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. No, I'm just saying no. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I'm trying to say that elements of what has happened over the last 18 months are, to me, have been about social control, altering society, and the idea that governments across the world do not want more control over the people is naive. And that's backed up by state, big tech, and big pharma. And so now we're, after 18 months, it's clear that our governments are making political decisions because they don't want to give back the liberties and freedoms that they took, or the power that they took. It's very clear. They don't want to do that.
I'm agree with you. Totally. Because it happened here too, and it happened all over the world.
Yeah, sure. I don't mean to be quite so serious, but you know.
No, it's okay.
I'm a serious dude.
No, it's okay. I'm very happy that you can allow yourself. This is an interview that you want to broadcast this over. It's no problem. Come on.
Hey, I don't care.
But go over to this album. Overall, Alchemical Warfare is an interesting diversion. Its heavy metal influences and fusy production make it seems like something from this late 80s, a forgotten curio doc up from the vaults. Seeing that the album has been released almost 6 months ago, Alan, what are the formats that the album is still available for fans who want to buy the album, and how about merchandises?
That's a good point. You can go to our Bandcamp and you can get it on vinyl, CD from me. There's no cassette yet, I don't think, although that would be pretty cool. Yeah, there's a bunch of new shirts I have here sitting in front of me waiting to post up in the Bandcamp. I mean, look, like I said, I remain optimistic and I remain somewhat positive. And don't forget, things I'm talking about are also, some of them are hypotheticals, things that may happen. I'm also quite open to the fact that they may not happen and we might go back to normal and things will be all right. I'm not nailed to these things. They might happen, they might not, but I've been kind of right so far. Anyway.
At least you want people.
Yeah, of course. I want to be wrong. I really want to be wrong. And the state to come out and go, okay, listen, we apologize. We took your liberties. We took your freedoms. Here you go. Go back to your lives. Go back to being human. You know, enjoy your agency, your purpose, your travel, your creativity with each other. I want them to do that. Now, do you think that's going to happen? Well, we'll see.
Let me tell you one thing. I hope you're wrong that this pilgrimage to Doomsday will take place.
Yeah, me too. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's still very possible it will. Like I said, all these fucking boring things, because I work in the industry and I work as a booking agent, there are all these boring things that I think about. Insurance, antigen tests, etc., that I know if venues are this and blah, 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 and you have to pay this insurance. If those things stay in place, oh, we're in trouble. Anyway.
Alan, to end this great interview, the microphone of Metal Messiah Radio International is all yours to thank whomever you want to thank.
Yep. Well, thanks to everyone who picked up the Dread Sovereign record, who stuck by Primordial, who's listened to my podcast. Like I said, love me or hate me, I've got a few things to say. And in an age where most people have fucking nothing to say, what can I do? I'm trying to deal with my own fucking, craziness. But yeah, let's just hope that our scene can come back, that we can go back to playing live, go back to playing touring, go back to meeting each other in different countries and being human with each other and all that kind of stuff. I'm not, of course, in all the things I say, saying that that's not going to happen. I'm just a pessimist. I'm a natural born pessimist. But, we need the optimists. So if you're optimistic, stay positive, and check out the Dread Sovereign record. It's old school fucking heavy metal in a way you don't hear much anymore. And don't take me that seriously. Thank you, Metal Messiah Radio and DJ Vampire. Take it easy. Until next time, Alan from Primordial.
Alan, before you leave, I'd like you to say hi to all the members of the band. I'm talking about Bones and I'm talking about Johnny King. Also, I'd like you to say hi to all the Primordial members. Yes, I wish you all the best with this album. I'm talking about this great new album, Alchemical Warfare. And I wish you all the best for the band. And like we talked, I wish you guys can go back on tour. And hopefully for October already this.
All right.
You guys can start playing. I don't think I can make it this year to Europe, but I try to be there for the 2022. I'm looking forward to see you guys on the road. And
all right,
let's cross the finger. We're going to meet at any other great festivals around in Europe. So, yeah, without too much to say, I think we said it all. Once again, I want to thank you very much.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Okay, so like I always say, metal on. Bye-bye.
Bye now.